Hey guys, it's your average middle-aged American back again with another video. This one is kind of a little different. As you may know, I've been doing a lot of research on Ireland and the UK. Wife and I plan to do some international traveling, and Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales is kind of our first destination. So I'd like to get your opinion on what this gentleman is saying. The name of this video is Five Bad Sides of Ireland, from living in Ireland. So his channel will be linked down below in the description. And enough jibber jabber, let's see what he has to say.
Good morning, good evening and good afternoon, YouTube. Not everything in Ireland is perfect, as some of you apparently think. So today we're gonna talk about some bad sides of Ireland and bad sides of living in Ireland in general. With number one.
This is going to be an interesting video because I did a video on what Irish people think about America. And, you know, I imagine some of it is warranted, but a lot of it is not what America is in general. As I'm sure you know, there's quite a bit more people in America, and obviously the country is much, much larger than Ireland. So it's hard to kind of generalize America when there's so many different cultures living together. You know, we have 50 states and 5 territories. So it's literally like 55 little countries. I've said it a million times, but it's true. And, you know, what that gets you is each state controls its own government. Federal government's just to protect the whole country and to regulate a few, you know, constitutional issues. But other than that, each state kind of runs itself. And so the people of that state, you know, vote on how they want that state run. And a lot of times that can be quite different than even the state next door or another region in the U.S. for sure. You know, Alaska and Hawaii are completely different. And, you know, New York and Florida are completely different. And Montana and Pennsylvania are completely different. So we'll see what he has to say about Ireland. I get it. It's probably a little bit of a generalization, but when you have such a small country and compared to, you know, America or Russia or, you know, some of these other, you know, huge countries, it probably is a little more accurate. Of course, it's just his opinion. So let's see what he has to say.
One, without any delay, housing crisis and rents. Now, is it really that bad, as everyone says? I would be lying if I said I know personally from my experience. I don't, because I've been living in the same house last 4 years, but apparently it is. The data from September last year says there was almost 11,000 homeless people in Ireland. I mean, that's gotta say something. But yeah, stories from people I know and don't know, and the stories I have read, is finding accommodation in Ireland, especially in Dublin, is horrifying experience currently. Even if you manage to find something, it's usually shit, and it's just shit. Either it's the moisture, or your roof is leaking, or I don't know, anything. Or there's just landlords who just like to do things illegally without a contract, so you can get evicted tomorrow if it fits their needs.
All right, guys, let me know down in the comments. Is this true? Is it? I mean, I understand that there's a problem with supply and demand in housing, but is it true that, you know, the housing situation is, even if you find a place, it's not very nice, has a lot of problems, it's leaking, that kind of thing? And if so, why is that? You know, is it just because the buildings and everything are so old that they're hard to work on? Or, you know, being an American, it's hard for me to grasp that. I guess I could relate it to maybe something like, you know, in like New York City, where, you know, you have a 5 or 6 story apartment building that's, you know, 150 years old. It's not easy to revamp that, you know, for electrical or whatever. The leaking roof seems to be pretty simple fix. Is it an economy issue? Is it a lack of contractors? Tell me what's going on. Or is he wrong? Tell me if he's wrong. According to my research, Dublin is kind of Dublin. It's like its own little country, and then everything else is kind of its own little country. So let me know if I'm wrong on that. And I did read somewhere that there were like 850 places to rent, and then there were like hundreds of thousands of people looking for a place or something. I mean, it was crazy, the number. And I did see a video where there was like a line all the way down the street just to view an apartment that was for rent. So let me know if that's true. As far as the homeless goes, 11,000 people is 11,000 too many, but I mean, what percentage of that is the population? I mean, obviously 11,000 homeless people is 11,000 too many, but realistically, percentage-wise, that's not really a horrible number compared to some other countries. It's something like 0.2%. America is around 0.2%, and even the best of the best capitalist socialist countries have some homeless themselves, even though they say that it's basically impossible, but they do. It was either Finland or Denmark. I think it's Denmark. Finland or Denmark had 0.1% homeless. So that's only half as many as, this gentleman's saying is a problem in Ireland, and half as many as everyone says is a problem in America. So it's not like it's 10 times as much, or 20 times, or 100 times, or whatever. Let's see what else he has to say.
So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I know, I have one tip for you. So if you are already renting in Ireland, there's a new thing this year where you can, as part of your tax rebate, you can claim €500 per person as a rent aid. I don't know how to call it, rent aid from government. You just go to the revenue office, or if you use tax rebates, you just text them, you give them your info, and you'll get €500 for rent every single year starting from 2022, and I'm pretty sure you can claim it already for 2023. So there you go. Point number 2.
All right, so I assume that's €500 a year, which is 40 a month. Well, what is that in the grand scheme of things? Is what's normal rent like for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment? Or do they even have 2-bath apartments? Is it 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment? What's your average rent there? Is it €1,000? Is it €2,000? Because I got a feeling that €40 in a housing crisis, isn't probably dramatically helpful. Could be wrong. Let me know. I don't mind being wrong. I like learning. Put it down below.
Healthcare in Ireland. Apparently the waiting lists for medical procedures can be weeks long. Now, if you think that's bad, in Croatia it's months, if not years. But let's stick to the normal world, which Ireland is certainly part of, weeks. And average waiting time in emergency services is 10 to 14 hours if your injury is not life-threatening, which is not so good. But that's not all of it, that's one part of it.
All right, let's take it one step at a time. 9 to 12 hour wait in the emergency room, that can happen in America. And everybody knows America's got the most expensive healthcare in the world. Nobody wants to talk about income tax, but anyway, that can happen in America. I've been to the emergency room. I'm not the healthiest guy in the world. And I've been to the emergency room probably, well, we're getting personal now, probably 10 times in my adult life. And my waits have been anywhere from 4 hours to 20 minutes. So it can happen. I think some of it depends. In America, the problem is you go to the hospital for anything, especially if you don't have health insurance or, a regular doctor or whatever. So there's people that clog up the emergency room. I've seen people in the emergency room for follow-up exams, you know, getting their stitches out or just nonsense. Generally, American hospitals, at least where I live, prioritize based on, you know, your condition. If I go to the hospital, I'm sick. I'm bad. I either, you know, I don't want to get too personal, but you know, kidney stones, that kind of thing. So they prioritize pain level, they prioritize, you know, danger level, that kind of thing. So they don't just put you all in a line. As far as procedures going weeks and weeks out, that could happen in America depending on what it is. Now, obviously, if it's important, they're just going to do it in the hospital. You know, you go into the emergency room and you know, if you have a heart attack, you know, you're bypassing every line and they're going to put your stents in or whatever you need to have done, you know, right then and there. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. I mean, they got a hospital full of doctors and surgeons, and what happens happens. Now, some hospitals obviously are bigger than others. So, worst case, they'll transport you to another hospital in an ambulance. And if it's serious enough, it could be lights and sirens. And so there's never that fear of dying in the emergency room. But yeah, there's lines. I mean, it all depends. It depends on where you live. It depends on, you know, the severity of your situation. So I don't know what exactly he's expecting. Now, I don't know about other countries, but in America, you know, we have these things called urgent cares or centric cares, or, you know, they have all kinds of different names. And basically, they're kind of like an emergency doctor. They're not a hospital. But if you've got, you know, if you feel like you're coming down with the flu or strep throat or, you know, something that isn't going to require surgery, that kind of thing. If they need to look at you, you know, figure out what's going on, get you a prescription for antibiotics, that kind of thing. You know, you cut your arm, you need to get it stitched up, that kind of thing, without having to go to the emergency room. So that's trying to take some relief, give some relief off of the hospitals for all the stuff that really isn't an emergency. If you want to debate healthcare in America versus healthcare in democratic socialist countries, feel free to check out my other videos, because it's all about how much you pay in income tax versus how much you pay for medical care. So it's can't compare apples and oranges. They're two different things.
If you end up staying in the hospital, the service there is, at least in the Galway hospital, is done by a company called AMAA, which I actually used to work for. My God, that's a whole other pile of horseshit. Let me tell you. So the people working and serving you food there have exactly 5 days of training, and after that they're supposed to know everything. They're supposed to read your chart, and for example, if you're on a minced diet, or if you're on a gluten-free diet or anything, they are supposed to check your chart and give you the appropriate food. Now, as you can imagine, they don't. After 5 days of training, you're put into a ward. Well, I hope the wind is not too strong. You're put into wards with 30-40 people, and you're supposed to take care of them. And that, unfortunately, leads to life loss, which...
Okay, I'm completely confused here. He's saying that people that feed you your food in a hospital, he's not talking about nurses or doctors. He's talking about food people, delivery people that are probably working down in the, you know, commissary or whatever. They get 5 days of training to figure out what kind of food to give somebody. That seems like a lot to me to serve food. Now, you know, I'm assuming that's 5 8-hour days, so 40 hours worth of information about the difference between gluten-free bread and gluten bread, and the difference between mincemeat and regular meat. I think I could learn everything I need to learn in 4 hours. Now, maybe I'm missing something. Let me know down in the comments, but I'm really confused about this. And quite frankly, why don't the doctors just write on the chart what they have, what they're going to eat? I mean, they shouldn't be doing any kind of diagnosis on nutrition. They're not nutritionists. So why doesn't the doctor just say, you know, group 1 only or group 2 only? Why don't they just have these things divided up into, 10 different food groups, with selections from food groups? When I go to the hospital, like it's a vacation, when I've been to the hospital, they have a menu like a restaurant. And then the doctor says, you can't eat this, 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 or this. And then you pick whatever you want off that menu. You get your choice of this, this, or this for an entree, this, or this for dessert, this, or this for vegetables, this, or this for beverages. And depending on if you're in for a broken leg or something, it doesn't even matter. People can bring you fast food, or you could have Uber Eats drop it off or whatever. So I'm confused about 5 days of training to hand somebody a plate of food. And where are the doctors? Why aren't the doctors just writing on? I mean, why are they looking at a chart to determine what kind of food there is when the doctor could just write on there, soft food only, or group food only, or minced only, or I mean, if I was them, I would just have 10 different categories of food. Category, anything but category 1 or 2, or category 1, 2, and 3 only, or what? It seems pretty simple. I don't understand the confusion there.
I don't know. Unfortunately, did happen in Galway Hospital. You should really avoid.
And then he's talking about people dying from being served the wrong food. That's a problem. I mean, how does that work? Somebody needs minced meat and you feed them a T-bone and shove it down their throat? Or, how do you die from the wrong food other than a serious allergic reaction, which the doctor's responsible for in the first place? Very confused about this. Let me know down below if you get an idea what he's complaining about.
Aramark at any cost. The other side of that coin is everything is very modern and very advanced. You just need to wait for your queue, and when it's your turn, you will be taken care of. Pretty modern? That's not a word.
Modernly's a word.
Everything is modern. Let's leave it at that for now.
You can add ly to just about anything.
Point number 3, Ireland is small and so are its roads. So transportation in Ireland is not ideal. If you live in Dublin, especially in Dublin, smaller cities, I'll talk about Galway a bit later, but Dublin. Let's say you need to commute with a bus or inner city train or anything similar. They will be late. Daily basis, not even daily, hourly basis, they will be late. Including, it's a big city. All the problems that come with capital cities and big cities, Dublin has them. But I live in Dublin, which is much smaller than Dublin. I live in Galway, not Dublin, which is much smaller than... My God, what am I doing? I live in Galway, which is much smaller than Dublin. It's the same shit. The rush hour here, which is just me not an hour, it's 5 hours every day, where everything is just jammed. Stoppages on the road, not just buses. Cars, if you have a car in Galway, you're better off walking, trust me. But yeah, buses are late and they're just not reliable. If you live somewhere outside of the town, they're not as often as you would like them to be. And even if they are, they're still late. Don't rely on transportation in Ireland. This one is a bit more complex.
I find this fascinating. I heard this in another video that everyone complains about, America's mass transit, and but in the big cities we have it. New York City has the subway system, and then of course there's 10 million cabs, and buses and whatever, and some of the big cities have mass transport. But it sounds like Ireland's got a real transportation problem, and the mass transportation you have is not reliable and or punctual. So that's kind of a problem. I get it if you're trying to go out and look at, some old castle or something that's, on the outskirts of town. But why haven't they fixed the roads? Why haven't they, created more roads for areas that have problems and congestion and that kind of thing? Why are the buses running late all the time? And why don't they just add more if you're relying on that as your mode of transportation for a majority of the people, which it sounds like they are, why can't that be fixed? Or is he exaggerating? Is he nuts? Is he just pissed off about something else and wants Ireland to look bad? Tell me down below. I've never been there, but I'm coming. I'm coming. So get ready. Giant American on tour in Ireland.
Complicated. Now, you probably heard about friendliness of Irish people and Ireland in general, and that is mostly true. Irish people are one of the most friendliest people in nation generally that I have ever met. I didn't travel the world, but I did travel a bit, so I have something to compare it with. Every nation, including Ireland, has their fair bits of morons. There's always a group of people which IQ is equivalent of a room temperature. But why am I saying this and why I think this is one?
Okay, so yes, and that applies to America too for all you people that have never been here or only went to the big cities when you were here. That's true anywhere you go. I've got friends that are idiots. It is what it is. There's morons everywhere. But I wouldn't expect any different in Ireland or Scotland or Wales or America or China. I'm sure there's idiots even in China. I assume. I don't know. Maybe not based on their math scores. All right, back to the video.
One of the bedsides of Ireland. I started using Twitter more than usually in the last weeks and months, and there's a trend there called #IrelandIsFull. Now, there's a group of people, I would maybe call it a movement, which claim that Ireland should not be accepting any refugees, asylum seekers, foreign workers, and things like that, which I don't know. I don't even know where to start with that. I mean, their whole economy is based on foreign workers, but let's stick to the core of the subject. The problem is that is not that the opinion itself, because everyone's entitled to an opinion, but Ireland is not full for everyone. If you ask them, it's full for certain people and not for some other. For example, Ukrainian refugees are welcome. Ireland is not full for them, and that's fine. It should be like that. They should be helped. But those same people would not take refugees from Middle East. And that's a problem, because why? What's the difference? Is it the skin color, the religion, or just the fact that they're from Middle East? It's a pile of horseshit.
That's a bad look, guys. Is that true? Again, America gets dumped on because, we have this whole big thing with the border of Mexico and all of that. But, we have 1 million people a year applying for citizenship. Is that true? I mean, I get it. You're a small country, relatively speaking, and you don't, want it flooded with people, and you already have a problem with housing availability and that kind of thing. But is it true it's more based on nationality and religion and culture? Or is he maybe a little defensive, and taking things more personally than looking at the facts? Obviously, Ukraine is a disaster right now. But, anybody who's being persecuted, should be able to go flee to another country as long as they do it legitimately, legally. So let me know, what's the real world here? Is your infrastructure just not able to handle more people? Or are you kind of picking and choosing? Or is it an investment problem? Are foreigners coming in and buying up everything? Because that's happened like in Hawaii, for America. Hawaii's got a lot of foreign investors, and that became kind of a situation where you start worrying about, being basically owned by another country. So does that have something to do with it? Or is it just the fact that you got too many people for a small area? Let me know. Trying to learn here, folks. No judgment. I'm just trying to learn.
So if you're an expat thinking about moving to Ireland, you should know that, because you can run into one of those idiots on the road. And then what? For a nation who has over 3 million people living outside of their borders in other countries, doing the same things as foreigners do in Ireland, you really need to have a wire connecting your 2 ears in your head to claim that Ireland is full. That's where I'm gonna leave this.
That's a good point.
That may be interesting, so it's Guinness time. But before I move on to my last point and my final thoughts, please consider clicking the subscribe button. I make videos about Ireland 1 to 2 times per week, so if you like this, maybe you will like the other ones. So, and it would mean a lot to me because I'm aiming to get to the 2,000 subscriber mark soon. So consider subscribing. Anyways, my last point. One, you can't talk about Ireland without talking about its weather. Is it that bad? I don't think it is. It's windy now, I hope it's not too loud. But rain really doesn't bother me that much. I like it. There's nothing better than having a hot whiskey and watching a movie when it's raging rain outside and raining like hell. I like it. Plus, it's not raining all the time here, as people think. Yes, it might rain, not every day, but often. But it's never raining like 7 days in a row as it does in Croatia in fall, for example. But yeah, it will.
Okay, first of all, what is a hot whiskey? Is that literally a whiskey that's been heated up like a hot chocolate? Or is it just hot like a spicy, whiskey that's got more of a, is it hot by spice or hot by temperature? And rain, in America, it depends on where you're at. But yeah, there's places it rains all the time in America too. Just depends, My understanding is, though, you don't have any of the problems that America has as far as severe weather. So, it may rain every other day in Ireland, but you don't have hurricanes or tornadoes or earthquakes or, any of the stuff that some of the other countries have to deal with. So, would you rather it rain every other day, or would you rather have nice weather until, a tornado tears your building apart? Just food for thought. But yeah, there's plenty. Alaska, it rains all the time. And it's obviously cold all the time. And then you go to Arizona, it hardly rains at all. California is either too dry or too wet. In Texas, when it rains, it floods, if it rains too much, because the infrastructure wasn't built for it, because it doesn't rain that often. So if it does rain hard, then you have a problem there too. I think that's a worldwide thing. Obviously, the UK, it's supposed to rain a lot. It is what it is. Maybe that's why, the place is so green. It's always getting water.
It will rain every day 2 or 3 times, but deal with it. If you want to live in a hot tropical country, obviously you won't pick Ireland. It is what it is, and I like it. It has some kind of a charm and appeal to it. Everything I said in this video, please consider my personal opinions. I didn't want to offend anyone. I love living here and I love Ireland. But yeah, every country has its downsides. That's inevitable. So, comment section, please tell me, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you have any points that I maybe didn't mention and you would like to mention them in the comment section. If you like this video, press the like button. If you didn't, press the dislike one. If you loved it, share it with your friends, your priest, lover, wife, your sister, and I will see you next time.
All right, so he doesn't hate Ireland. He's just kind of voicing his complaints. Giving people a little caution towards jumping up and moving there. So let me know down below, what is he right about? What is he wrong about? I think that with anything, when you're talking about a country, you have to kind of be careful to not, have just a blanket statement on everything, because, and that's coming from an American who, we have everything. We have deserts and, mountains and snow and beaches and states that have no income tax. We have states that have high income tax. We have, every kind of different economy. So for me, it's very irritating when I hear, blanket statements about America, because it is so different. Every single state is different. Even within the state, cities are different. If you go to New York State, it has New York City in it with 8 million people. You go to, northern New York State, it's completely different. Completely different. And then you compare that to some farm in Nebraska, that's a whole different world. So it gets very irritating to me. It's easier to use a broad brush when you're talking about a smaller country. It's 340 million people in America. There's 5 million people in Ireland. So I can kind of get that. There's 8 million people in New York City. So, but tell me what he's right about. Tell me what he's wrong about, and add on whatever you want to add on to it. What do you not like about Ireland? Most of my videos about Ireland are positive, so that's great information, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, apparently. So let me know what you would fix if you could fix it. And how did it get that way? I am really trying to learn. It's not about America being the best at everything, because we're not the best at everything. All right, I appreciate you. If you're new to the channel, it's anything and everything that interests me as a middle-aged average American who is basically going to do some international traveling. So right now, it's kind of what I'm focused on. Other than that, there'll be videos in organized playlists from everything from financial to gearing up for retirement, obviously traveling and other cultures, what people think about America. So anyway, I do appreciate you checking out this video and my channel, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.